Okay, Chris, let's do it. Yeah, I was just saying that I think your work is so amazing and so multifaceted. Do we say that in, do I say that in English? Yeah, because it's amazing what you do. So tell me about these characters and how you discovered the characters or created the characters that you do.
Yeah, I think I'm sure lots of us over the last year, year and a bit, have had time to sort of reflect and look back, and
Yeah.
and I think I've asked myself the same sort of question. Well, how have
Really?
you? Yeah, well, how have you had the career that you've had? How are you having the career that you're having?
Mm.
And because yeah, lots of it sort of doesn't really make sense in a sense, except that it's me just following instinct, and I've become really interested in instinct and just really honing that, and like what is it. And I think sometimes I just go towards a topic. Like at the moment, the big project I'm doing is my care home project, and I've been doing that for years now, about residential care, and sort of creating this big entertainment about it. And I think for the couple of years before that, I was just sort of like, I'm really drawn towards vulnerability and yeah, but I know there's something in there, and I want to do something about it. So and gradually I will understand what the work is. And so going all the way back to my comedy characters, I think that was just instinct. I think it was like, wow, I think I'd like to sing country music, and I'd like to look pretty. So let's invent a character that's a pretty country music singer. Do you know what I mean? I think there was a lot of just instinct there. Because it wasn't particularly logical.
Oh,
So
okay.
I mean, maybe that's what an artistic process is that you just follow your desire and your instinct rather than just doing what you think will be successful.
Yeah, but that's what I think it's wonderful, because you just followed your instinct. You didn't follow rules or what would be acceptable, or and I think in a way this is wonderful that you have that, and that you can express yourself like that.
Yeah, I mean, there were times when, when I started as a performer, I was doing some sort of quite artistic performance art shows, but I was also doing my comedy shows, and I was very much part of the comedy world. And sometimes people would say to me, "Oh, your show, you're not comedy enough." And I was like, "Well, that's comedy's fault. It's not my fault."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the world's fault. I'm doing my show, and of course I want to be funny, and I want to be entertaining, and I wanted to learn those skills. I very
Yeah.
much wanted to learn those skills, but I didn't particularly worry about genre. Like, I wasn't fitting into a genre enough, because there used to be a listing magazine in London called Time Out. I think it's still online. And in Time Out, you had to decide which category you wanted to go in. So there was always this ongoing thing about, should I go in comedy or cabaret? Oh, there wasn't a cabaret section, I think. Should I go in comedy or music or theatre or gay and lesbian, as it was then? And I was like, well, put me in all. I don't care. Put me in every section. And they're like, oh no, you have to be one. And I was like, well, I can't choose then.
Yeah.
It's all of
But
them.
yeah, but isn't that then actually that's art, touching all these aspects that you do.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely it's,
Yeah.
if it can be easily defined, then it becomes, I mean, all of us as artists, we have to make product,
Yeah.
to use that capitalist concept. Of course, we have to make product to some degree, but that shouldn't be just what we're making, is just thinking about what is the product.
But this is what I'm thinking, and I'm actually asking musicians also this question, that isn't it and I don't know the music world, and I don't know the art world, and the pressures that you know, the sort of um, the outside pressures you are under from, say a type of control that you're under, that you have under a management, have to be a certain way or play. So musicians, sometimes you hear, you know, for concerts, for competitions, they have to play certain things and so on. And I wonder also that now in this time with this pandemic, where people sort of took control over what they're doing or thinking about, like you say, now you reflected about over what you were doing. If this will give you, if this will give artists some sort of freedom now afterwards, where you figured out what it is and who it is you are as an artist, and then going that route and not really necessarily what everybody else wanted.
Yeah, I think that is the absolute positive that can come out of this time.
Mm.
Absolutely, that it's given us this time for reflection, and in a pure sense, in an ideal world, that we would really act on that period of reflection. I think what works against that is that for a lot of people, the lack of financial income has made it so stressful that, that has sort of mitigated against the positive side.
Yeah.
And I think even for those people for whom the financial aspect hasn't been the most negative thing, I think there's a sense in which all artists, you know, creating is draining. It takes something from you, but there are certain parts of the process that feed you. There's lots of things that feed you. And for me, it's partly creating feeds me, but a lot of it comes from an audience and being with an audience and playing with an audience. And being denied that for so long is really hard. And so it feels like, yes, I've had time to sort of reflect and to sort of purify my instinct, if you like, hone my instinct. But I've had to balance that against this sort of lack of being fed by an audience. And I think that's so we know that all human history has, you know, good and bad in it. Everything about human life has good and bad in it. So yeah, there's good and bad in this for sure.
And this is what all the artists tell me, is this energy from the audience that they really needed, and that they really missed, and that, you know, that was most of the frustration, because everybody could say, musicians could keep practicing, but they needed that sort of energy from the audience, and the reason, you know, like a reason for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, just going back to your first question, you know, like, how did my characters come about? How did the range of my work come about? What they have in common is the audience. They have a playful attitude towards audience. And it is the thing that I'm really, really interested in. How can we just ask fundamental questions of the audience to say, oh, who are you going to be now? And often the answer is, we're just going to be the audience sitting in these seats. But sometimes you're asking them to role play. Sometimes you're asking them to take risks. Sometimes you're asking them to, I don't know, dive into the unknown and fantasize along with you, or just, I don't know. It's a very changeable process. And I think that's what all my work has in common, that I'm very interested in that, which is, I'm not really interested in the audience sitting politely in the dark and clapping at the end. I'm interested in them, you know, it being a proper collaboration. And so, yes, of course, we miss that, and that's why doing performances online on Zoom is been a whole other thing, you know. And I've done some and not many, because I didn't feel fed by it, to be honest. I felt drained by it, not fed. And it felt a bit ersatz, you know, felt a bit half-hearted. So Yeah. So yes, and I'm talking to you in the week that I'm going to do my first live shows
Oh,
again. So
wow.
this is kind of
Amazing.
weird. Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah. Oh, this is wonderful then. But I want to know when during the lockdown time, how did you keep yourself motivated, or what did you spend your time doing? Um, and how did, I mean, did it, and also did you lose a lot of sort of contracts and projects that you were about to do?
Yeah, so I finished a show on in March, in the second week of March, 2020, and it was a run of a show called No Show, which was about what happens when the performer decides they don't want to perform anymore, and so
Oh,
the
okay.
audience. So that's where I was psychologically,
Yeah.
and the audience have to sort of basically work out how to get me to perform for them, and in that process they have to work out what they really want, not what they think they want, but what they really want. And so it was exactly what I just was talking about. It's very collaborative with the audience, and so I never really made it onto the stage. I spent all my time in the audience by saying, why do you want me to do that, why that, anyway. So this was the show that I was doing, and I finished it on the Saturday on middle of March, and on Monday morning I was doing a photo shoot for a new show, and the photographer was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm really tired. Can I just lie down and you take my photos?" So basically, I had COVID, and I had COVID really badly, and
Really?
so basically my work, my life and my work go up to that moment, and then I got COVID, and I was really, really ill,
Mm.
and I have long COVID. So I've been ill off and on for the whole time.
My
So there's
goodness.
a lot,
Mm.
and last week we were supposed to speak last week, and I've had to get much better of doing what I did with you, which is like, I'm really sorry, I'm not well today. Can we
Yeah.
reschedule? And it's a very straightforward process, and people go, well, of course, yes, but it's I've had to learn that skill. So yeah,
Mm.
my energy level is very different.
Mm.
So it's not that I have just done that,
Mm.
but it has been the dominating thing. Um, I Once I had more energy, once I was better, or over the first stage of COVID,
Yeah.
I started volunteering in a food bank, in my local food bank.
Oh, okay.
Um, do you have food banks? Do you know what they are?
I
Have
know
you?
food bank. I know food banks from the time that I lived in the UK. Yeah, where people come and who have difficulties, or who don't have food, they come and eat. They come and collect food there.
Yeah, it's like a shop but the food's free, so it's a
Mm.
charity. And I asked that question because I always love it when people don't really know what they are, because I
Mm.
want no one to know what they are, because I think it's terrible that they exist in
Mm.
such in such rich countries like here and in America and other
Yeah.
places. I think it's a scandal. But anyway, I did some volunteering there, and then I just kind of did more and more, and then I ended up as one of the managers,
Mm.
um, and I did that as until I really couldn't manage it with my energy.
Mm.
But then that led me. It was an amazing period of maybe like 7 or 8 months, and but it also led me to create a project called Art Bank, which
Oh,
is a very simple idea,
okay.
which in because what we've not been able to do is connect artists and audiences because of the
Mm.
pandemic. So just as the food bank is people come along and they're given food. So Art Bank is there are 5 artists, and you come along and you experience each of the artists, and they either give you a poem, or they give you a drawing, or they sing you a song.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's been so I did that last month. We were able to run that in London with quite a lot of balancing of the COVID regulations. But
Mm.
now Art Bank is going out there, and people can do their own Art Bank.
Mm.
So from the end of this week, we'll be launching the kit, how to do your own art bank. So
That's
that
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, feels like a really good thing to do.
Mm.
And also it's very satisfying. Like the audiences get this incredibly rich experience, and artists get to connect to audiences, and that's great. And who knows how long we would need something like that for.
Yeah, but Chris, this is what I actually talk to artists about, and this is the now you have a very interactive a connection with your audience when you are there and when you are busy with your performance. But I'm always thinking now that I see it as the artist doing the performance and then the audience leaving, and then there's this gap, where the audience, we see the artist in on stage and in costume, and it all looks very glamorous, and uh, and then there's a different side to the artist, and there's also a different side, or there's also a deeper side in the art that we don't know about, and why the artists do this job, and how they say, for instance, with you, the characters, where are they born, and or from what are they born, and how did you start, and what, that sort of idea. And this is also with musicians, that I think if they start talking about the music and start talking about the art that they're doing, if this creates a different connection with the audience, and audiences then appreciate more what they do and what the artists are doing.
Yeah, I think, and I really understand that, that sort of that richness, and then going deeper and finding out about the process. Really, it's about finding out about the process of how something comes about. And I love that myself with people that I really admire, especially songwriters. And musicians. I really love hearing about their process and where the ideas came from and how they made it happen, and why that strange bass line, or any things like that. But I think it's one of the strange I don't know, illogicalities in a way. Like that is really great to hear about, but ultimately, if we could put things into words, then there would be no point playing the music,
Oh
and
yeah,
we could just describe it. And
very
if we
just.
could put it into words, then there would be no point me sort of making silly jokes about difficult subjects. So I think both things are true, aren't they?
Yeah.
We obviously we need the art, because it can do what we can't put into words.
Yeah. So maybe there's a fine line that needs to, that we shouldn't cross then as an audience, but then there's also a connection that we want with maybe with the artist. Do you think?
Yeah,
With
absolutely.
the
And then
art, with the art.
art,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely. And I think alongside that, one thing that I'm really big on, and is about honoring the audience, and really saying that to the audiences, you're great, you can work really hard, I'm going to trust you to work really hard. And often as an audience member, I used to feel, in the before times when I used to go and see things, I often used to think like, wow, they're not making me work hard enough. I want to
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I want to be drawn in, I want to be perplexed, I want to be like really engaged. And of course you can never engage everybody, it's very individual. But I certainly think audiences need to work hard, they need to work things out, and that's where the real sense of satisfaction comes from. Which is not to say that things should be difficult and obscure and unpleasant or anything like that, but sometimes you just don't hand everything to them.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
a specific example of that, sorry, is just in my country music character, the Tina C character that I was doing for a long time, that so she has very right-wing, sort of Republican attitudes, but not not about everything. So a lot of the time you would people would go, well, that's appalling, that's what a right-wing American person would say, but then sometimes she would absolutely make sense, and I would
Mm.
sense the audience going, yeah, you're right, I agree with
Yeah,
everything. I mean, I don't agree with everything, like what do I agree with and whatever. And it's quite rare for a performer to say things they don't believe. And so they'd be like going, does Christopher think that? Or no, surely not, maybe, I don't know. And that's really good. I really like them trying to work that out.
I see. Yeah. Now that makes total sense as well. You know, that that there has to be this distinction then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we create our own experience of every work. Like, you know,
Mm.
we've no idea what there isn't a universal experience of looking
Mm.
at the Mona Lisa. Do you know what I mean? We all get something from it, and we make it, and it relates to us personally, and that's true of everything, I think. And
But do
often we
you,
express it.
yeah, but do you sometimes feel a bit scared to when a character says something that is maybe a bit more out there, and it could be too much? Do you sometimes feel a bit scared to do that, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always very careful that it's not just to be sensational, and I wouldn't say
Okay.
something,
Mm.
you know, if I'd have to really think through so I could own everything I would say.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so my old lady, I have a very old lady character who does hip hop songs,
Mm.
and that's what I'm doing for Brighton Festival.
Yeah.
And she and a sort of central part of her character is that she doesn't understand the right way to say things, but
Yeah.
she's not racist, and she's not
Mm.
homophobic, she's not transphobic, she's a genuinely open person, but she doesn't use the right language,
Okay.
because of generational difference.
Mm.
And so I sometimes, as that character, I'll say things and the audience will go, whoa, but I'm not saying anything unkind. I'm just not
Yeah.
saying in a way that is we're used to hearing. And I think that's also a
Mm.
good part of comedy.
Yeah, but I think that's also a great way of also saying that, you know, that not everything that comes out of our mouths are always meant in a bad way. You know, it's just not being able to express yourself the right way. So that is, I can totally get that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then it's up to the audience
Mm.
to work out, you know, do I agree with this? Do I cancel her because she's, you know, a racist old woman? Do I you shut her down? Do I then, or do I sort of piece it together and go, oh no, this is good, this is fine, I
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
And I think that is important to
Mm.
work on. Yeah.
So, also, what I ask artists is the question: do you feel that art and artists are valued? And you can speak from a UK perspective.
Yeah, so there's many things I could say about that. I that's one of the reasons why I did Art Bank,
Yeah.
because the project I was talking about, because I think what we've realized, what many people have realized in lockdown during the pandemic, is that we really need these things, and we need that connection with people, and that artists need audiences and audiences need artists. And so I think a lot of us have really realized that. So I wanted to, in a very local, small scale, community way, just provide a framework for that to happen. So yes, I do. I think it's essential. I think we've realized it's essential. I think in the UK, at a government level and at a sort of organizational level, in terms of funding, there's nearly always it's nearly always framed in terms of what it brings to the economy.
Mm.
So you know, we can demonstrate that British theatre brings in this many tourists and therefore is worth, you know, £5 billion, whatever. And I think we, I don't, I think the discussion is way bigger than that.
Mm.
And it's, you know, if we haven't realized that in the last year, then we will never realize it. You know, the importance of music, of, you know, just everybody watching things on Netflix, and, you know, these like amazing dramas that we've had access to. So I think we should move to a more grown-up discussion and go, this is part of being human, and it's part of how we express ourselves as human beings, and it's part of how we receive nourishment. It's how we're fed. And that's why I thought it was okay to do, yes, there are food banks where you give people food. Let's have an art bank where you give people art, because food's the most important, obviously, but not far behind is art. So yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with me in this country, but maybe the government would just kind of see it in terms of how much money we're making.
Mm. But also then, you know, freelance artists, you know, they um, sometimes feel also that the governments, you know, maybe the big theaters have more power, or the big theaters have more control in a way, but the freelance artists, you know, they were not so great looked after in this time.
Yeah, I think what the pandemic has revealed is the state that it has been around for a long time, and I mean, I'll speak from this country because I know the UK best, but that there's this strange inconsistency that nearly always a freelance artist like me is interacting with somebody who is paid full time, and because they work for a large theatre, or they work for a festival, or they're a, you know, music programmer, or something. And so often, you know, even just to the small scale thing of let's have a meeting, and you're like, oh, okay, so you have a meeting, and it takes, and they go, come to me, and I go, okay, and then and that process, it takes you an hour to get there, and then you meet for 2 hours, and then an hour to get home, and that's half the day, which I'm not being paid for. The freelancer is not being paid for, but the member of staff is, you know, they're getting paid
Yeah.
for that.
Mm.
And that's just like a fundamental inconsistency. And I'd already started doing this. And I think there's a big movement now. Like, even if it's a small amount of money, if it's £50, you know, just say, can we have a meeting? We'll pay you to come.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, the balance just doesn't work. And yeah, I think what the pandemic has made us all realize is that that arts functions on freelancers, and they don't get supported.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we've had some support during the pandemic, but not a lot, and a lot of people haven't had access to it. So
Mm. Um, but now, I think also a lot about the education, because I wonder if the solution to this is really that we educate people, and that we start the education with children, that when children from a young age understand, or you know, have to study art, that they understand what it's all about, and that they also have a different appreciation. And I know in the UK, for example, you know, there are art schools and art institutions, but that it's so difficult. You know, you have to go through an audition process, and it's only a selected amount of children who have this opportunity to study art.
yeah,
But if art could be a subject, you know, like science and maths, for example, in schools, that we also give children the opportunity to experience it, to learn about it, to express themselves, and um, have that sort of development, or personal development, and brain and physical development through art.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that I find really sad is when people say, which they say a lot, is, oh, I'm not a creative person. Oh, I'm not a creative person. I couldn't do that. Or I can't draw. I can't sing. I can't do that, you know. And yeah, I think that's so sad that that's been sort of like trained into us. Like, I'm working in a bank, so I can't be a creative person. It's like, well, you know, every time you kind of think of a good way around a problem, that's a creative,
Yeah.
that's creativity.
Yeah.
And every time you sort of tell somebody a white lie, that's a form of creativity. Do you know what I mean? We are creative
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
we are creative beings. And I think it's just a shame that it's become codified out of existence, like, you know, and that is about careers, that some people are creative and they have to make money out of it. And yeah, I think we should all be encouraged to learn, and to learn how to express ourselves in all different kinds of creativity, but also that there's no shame if you can't make a career out of that. You know,
Yeah.
only a very small people will be able to make a career out of it, but you can really, really enjoy it. And I mean, it's obvious that, and lots of people do it. You know, people love singing in choirs, they love drawing, and you know, but it's sort of accepted that maybe you wait until you retire and you'll do that. It's like everybody
Yeah.
should be doing that all the time. You know.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that is, again, I think it's, you know, capitalist structures. Like, if you can't make money at it, you shouldn't do it.
Mm.
Well,
But then again, you know, we all take maths and science, but we don't all become scientists and mathematicians.
absolutely, yes, completely. Yeah, but that's exactly right. And we need a bit of maths to help us in the supermarket, and we need a
Yeah.
bit of art to help us when
Mm.
we're feeling depressed, and we do some sketching, you know, and it makes us feel
Exactly. Yeah.
better.
Mm.
And when we're feeling you know, when we're feeling a bit confused, we might sing a sad song to ourselves, and that's, you know,
Yeah.
that we don't feel stupid doing that is because we've, you know, we have those skills. I mean,
Mm.
one of the big things, just to go way back to what have I been doing in lockdown, is I've been playing the piano every day. And
Mm.
you know, I use music all the time in my work, but I've never played every day since I was 14, you know. And that's been amazing. And there's been
Mm.
times when I'm like, I have nothing, I don't know what else to do. What can I do with, I just feel a bit stuck and I feel low energy and the world is crazy right now. So I'm literally just going to get some sheet music and just play the piano for ages. And you know,
Mm.
last year would have been very difficult without that. So
Mm.
yeah, but I'm never going to be a concert pianist, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, it's this exploring again things that you enjoy doing, that you have the time now, or that you had the time to do. But this is something that I find very interesting with artists, is that they do this. You know, I hear them telling me about things they start doing, or start painting, or start to uh, cooking and baking and things like that. Even that, I think, is a way of being creative. And it's wonderful that, yeah, artists just don't get stuck in a rut. It seems.
I'm sure we do, but there may be just slightly different routes. But no, I think yeah, I think I feel very, very lucky that the training that I had as a musician, as a child, really, that I haven't, has just been there all my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has helped me when things are tough. So you know,
Mm.
that's a huge value, I think.
How did you start in performing? Did you do drama? Did you study drama, or how did you start?
So at university I studied English and drama, and with the thought that I might want to become an actor, um, and my parents wouldn't let me go to drama school and said I had to go and do an academic degree and then I could go to drama school afterwards, and
Okay.
which was very wise of them, actually, because
Mm.
what I discovered was that I didn't want to do that, and actually the bit I enjoyed the most was was the English, was the literature.
Oh, I see.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was an interesting sort of take. And then I really enjoyed all of that, and they used sort of my brain being stimulated. And then I was going to go to university and do a higher study in English literature, and then I got offered a job working in television, working in trash television, in music television. And so because I was 21 and was like, wow, that sounds great, I did that. So I had this really perfect job for about 5 years, working in entertainment television. And that just kind of stimulated me in lots of other ways. And I'm so grateful that I didn't start to be a performer or an artist in my early 20s, that I did it when I was 26, 27. But at the tail end of working in television, I started to become quite disillusioned with it and started to realize there's more, and then I want to do this. And I think the biggest thing I learned was that I was working on lots of music, TV shows, pop shows. And I remember where I was when I suddenly went, oh, I could do that. And it was, because until that point, I always thought that, somehow thought that like people that were successful in that way were kind of like had something different going on. And of course, ultimately, everybody's just made something up. And, especially in music, you just make something up, you have an idea and you just go and do it. And it works or it doesn't. And that was like a massive breakthrough. And it took me being sort of 25 before I worked that one out, that nobody was special and everybody was special. And so that was great. So then I started making my own work age 26, and haven't had a proper job since. So
I think you have a proper job.
I'm being deliberately
I think you have a great job.
No, I know, deliberately annoying. But I feel really lucky that I was able to make that change. But I'm also really, really grateful that I didn't become an actor when I was 21. I think I was. Yeah. I didn't. I think I'm much more. I'm definitely a creator rather than acting is such an amazing skill, and I can perform, but I'm not really an interpretive actor. I'm an ideas person more than anything.
Oh, okay.
That's great to realize that.
Yeah. So now tell me, what is your wish for now that everything started opening again? I don't know if you say you started you're going to do a performance this week. So your theatre's also opened now?
Not just starting. With lots of regulations, and yes, I don't know how it's going to be. I'm in a theatre that will be a quarter capacity, so and the show normally has lots of sing along, and lots of people joining in and people singing different things, like a choir really. So can't really do any of that, but yes, so it's opening up, starting. So tell me, what's my wish? I mean, I hope that we don't forget creatively, that we don't forget the things that have nourished us during the last few months, the last 15 months, which is, I think, stories. And, that's why we've sort of been talking about, have you seen this thing on Netflix? Have you seen this thing on whatever, on Prime? And that is an essential thing, and that we don't just go back to making things that are okay, that we sort of hold ourselves to a higher standard. And certainly I don't want to just do gigs because somebody's asked me to do it. I think I need to sort of like, what do I want to get out of this? What do I want the audience to get out of it? So maybe that's a bit of a kind of wishy-washy aim, but I definitely believe in building back better. That we just hold ourselves to a slightly higher standard. And certainly big institutions stop thinking about what will be popular and start going, what is good? What do we think is good? What do we really believe? Going right back to the beginning of our conversation, what is my instinct about what will be good? Nobody sets out to make bad work, but they often set out to make work that they think that people will like, and that's a different thing.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, and that it's not just about the what's out there, but that it's really thought about and really meaningful for people. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
We know the difference. I mean, I'm sure you're the same. Like I know that looking back over, 30 years of going to see things, the ones that really resonate with you are a handful of
Yeah.
in terms of exhibitions and performance and music and stuff. And so we should all be trusting our instincts about that. And I
Mm.
know, I feel really grateful because I know that I'm that for a handful of people. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
will say, this, what you did on that was really, really important to me, and it
Mm.
really connected with me. And I think I only achieved that by following my instincts. And there's been times when I've done things that haven't really worked because I thought, oh, people will like this will be popular. And
Yeah.
I think we need to do better than that.
Mm. But Chris, this is so lovely to talk to you. I so wish I could come and see one of your performances. You really intrigue me when I saw all your, as I say, when I looked on your website. Um,
Well, I
but
tell you, the big thing that I'm working on now
yeah,
is there's the Old People's Home Project, the residential care
yeah.
home project, and we are doing that. We're making that entirely digital.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
So, and it's not really performance, it's lots of films and lots of content. So it's like a game. So
Yeah.
it's a computer game, a simple one, so I can understand it. And then you make a little version of yourself and you move into a fake care home and you navigate your way around and you interact with lots of films and some little
Oh,
performance.
okay.
And
Yeah.
it's a collaborative project with a team in Japan.
Mm.
And so then you can experience a Japanese home as well.
Yeah.
And that will be online and available for download from September. So
Oh,
even if you
really?
can't,
Okay.
you can
And
experience it.
is it would it be available in an app store or
It'll be so if you just keep an eye on my social media stuff, I'll start
okay.
posting.
Okay.
But yes,
Yeah.
it'll all be free and it will be available through our website and then also from the standard Apple and
Yeah.
Android app stores. Yeah.
It
So
sounds
you'll be able
amazing.
to do something even before we can all travel a lot.
Yeah. Oh no, this sounds amazing. And this art bank that you're talking about, just how exactly do you operate that?
So the idea is that anybody can put on an art bank,
Yeah.
and it's very simple, just 5 artists in a room, in a space, and the audience come along and interact with them. So the idea is not that I run it, it's that
Yeah.
anybody can do it. And so yeah, you can go to artbanklive.com and anyone can download the kit of the guide of how
Oh,
to put it
okay.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we can do them anywhere in the world, and we will give you a bit of advice on how to do it. But basically, it's up to you. So it's just a sort of um, saying this is a new way of thinking about how to connect artists and audiences because the old ways still aren't really possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
This sounds amazing. Yeah. So I will put the description, the link also on your video on YouTube
Great.
for the art
Yeah.
bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and is it okay if I post this on YouTube,
Yeah, of course.
this
Yeah,
interview?
that would be really nice. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
Okay.
And
Great.
it's been so nice to talk to you.
Oh, it's been lovely to talk to you. And please keep me updated if there's something interesting happening. We can. I've got a platform, the Artist Voice, on Facebook, and I post short interviews also on there, things that artists are doing, new projects and things. And we do a 10-minute quick Zoom interview and talk about the new project. And I post it there and post it on other platforms as well. So if ever there's something you would like me to post, then just let me know. And we can
Yeah,
do a
really
quick
great.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah, and and for sure spread the word on about Art Bank because I
I
would
will.
just
No, yeah.
love people to experience it for themselves and to put them on make it their own, basically. So
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
great.
Is it, you say it's international, it's not just in the UK that they do it?
Is that anybody can do one, and there's no copyright, there's no proprietorial kind of ownership over it. I just wanted to get the idea out there and just help people to think of a slightly different structure.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Chris, I hope I could meet you one day in person. If ever you
Yes,
come to Vienna, have you been?
I have been to Vienna. Yes, several
Really?
times. Yeah, I performed in Vienna actually. Of course, I can't remember where, but yes. I
But
have to
please let me
remember.
know when you come. It would
Yeah,
be
I
so
will.
lovely to meet you. Yeah. We'll grab a coffee and a nice piece of cake.
Yes, that would be so Viennese. I love that. Yeah, with lots of cream on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would.
Where are you based? Where are you based in the UK, by the
I'm
way?
in. I'm in North London.
Oh, you're in North London. Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I'm looking. I'm looking outside my window to a classic North London scene, which is the foxes playing in my garden, even though
Oh,
they should be.
really?
So, what am I going to do? But anyway, it's very North London.